It's the 13th of July, and it is. Oh, sorry. I've messed that up. And it's
8:17. Good evening.
And welcome to Geeks on Screens with Coffee. And today's guest is Rie. Hi there. I need to screen.
Hey.
And we are ready. Oh, I've got to do all the there we go. Sing sound and
Nice.
and
Fancy.
yeah, well, I thought it shows a level of professionalism having a
Agreed.
clapperboard, and I thought I would use it more than I have, but no. And then your name in well, not quite lights. Let's have a look.
Nice. No, I'll take it. That's lovely.
You know, it's the kind of thing a 3-year-old does. You know, magnetic letters. It's kind of my level. And as it's welcome to Geeks on Screens with Coffee. And what are you drinking? Are you drinking coffee?
So
have you got a beverage?
it is iced tea today because it's three in the afternoon for me. So because I'm on the East Coast. So iced tea. And I'm in the South. So
And I don't know if I can admit this, but I've read, I think, all the Southern Vampire Mysteries, the Sookie Stackhouse, the the True Blood. Was that no? And it's all set in the South, so they in Bon Tom, I think, is the. And they.
I do know that it is because I know they made it into a series, but I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay. They all drink iced tea. And that's apparently what everyone drinks in down south.
Yes.
That and moonshine.
Well, and beer and, a whole bunch of other stuff.
Oh, yeah, but that's the stereotype, isn't it?
Agree. Yes, totally.
So, welcome. And you are a Microsoft employee. You have...
I am.
We work for the same company. But don't tell anybody.
Well, don't worry. Nobody would believe us anyway.
Well, I don't believe it. And I'll get your job title wrong. But you're a program manager. You're an MVP lead.
So I'm a senior program manager, and I am the MVP product group lead for the data platform.
Cool. I mean, we all love data platform.
I do. Pays the bills. It always has.
Well, apart from when I did a paper round, but it has, yes, the data has paid the bill. Well, apart from when I did VB6, that paid the bills for a while.
Wow. Okay.
So
I've never done VB6, VB anything. Don't tell Ben I said that.
Oh, okay. Well,
okay.
I mean, I was looking at your LinkedIn, and if we go back to kind of the beginning, I don't think it was the first or second, third company, but I did see you did do SSIS.
I did.
And you didn't dabble in VB at that time?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
So I was Googling you, and I saw that you had a blog, and the website domain is Riepedia. Now that's so good. So good.
So there's a long running joke among my friends, and these are friends from two different aspects of my life, like my mom friend group and my tech friend group. They ask me stupid questions all the time. Like they just do. And sadly, I always know the answer. And so we started this joke a long time ago, where I would say, you could Google that. And they would say, yeah, but Google's going to give me like 200 answers and you'll just give me one. And so it became this joke that instead of like asking an encyclopedia, they would just ask me. And so they nicknamed me Riepedia, two separate groups of people who never met used that phrase. And so when it came time to make a blog, that was available. So That's my blog. So
This
I
is
even have the "Let me Google that for you" stickers that I give to people sometimes because they ask me stupid questions.
everybody asks us stupid questions. So you did that before what Wikipedia became kind of really famous then?
Oh, I don't think so. I think that's why they did it, was Wikipedia, Repedia, Encyclopedia, all that. How long ago? Oh Lord, probably 20 years ago. So, but I think Wikipedia was a thing 20 years ago.
Was it?
Yeah, because I had that nickname before I had my daughter, and she's about to turn 20. So
I don't. Is Wikipedia that old? I don't think was it. Do you know what we could look?
we could
look on
Google
the.
it.
Yeah, we could. Oh dear! I think we're gonna hit that quite often. And your first post was on women in IT. So
Right. I mean, so I had a blog years ago before that, but I didn't blog about anything tech, and I think I deleted the blog. I don't think it exists anymore. But yes, but my first Repedia blog post was on women in tech.
So was that? I mean, that was quite a while ago.
Probably, yeah, probably 7-8 years ago.
So, do you think much has kind of changed in that space over the last 7 years? Oh, I'm so
No,
I apologize on behalf of all men.
no. So I think probably what has changed is that people are much more aware that it's an issue. I don't necessarily know that like our pay hasn't gotten a heck of a lot better in 8 years. There are a lot of, at least here in the States, a lot of the laws haven't improved that protect women at work in the last 8 years. But people are a lot more aware of some of the issues that women in tech face. People are a lot more aware that there is the ratio is all wrong about how many women are in tech, how many women are entering tech, how many women are leaving tech. So I think awareness is leaps and bounds ahead of where it was 8 years ago. But there's still so much work to do. So much work to do. So
I apologize. I mean, it's
you don't have to.
no, but I'm part of the problem, and I think admitting that I am part of the problem. And then how can I not be part of the problem? If I just go, it's someone else's problem, they'll sort it out. Well, that's
Right.
then everyone else does that.
Right. So I do a lot of talks on women in tech issues, and I always love it when I have men attend my sessions, and I tell them that I appreciate them coming. If we're at a conference, they could be anywhere else. They could be in the speaker room, hanging out, talking to people. They could be learning about indexing, or typically they put WIT sessions during lunch, so they could be in a sponsor session or whatever. But I'm glad they're here. And I always say that if women could solve the women in tech problem by ourselves, we would have, and we would be out on the patio drinking sangria because we'd be done. But there are so few of us, and we have so little power overall in IT that we can't do it by ourselves. We have to have allies. And so I always appreciate when men come and listen. And inevitably, I always have, whenever I bring up just various points and different things, every single time I've ever given a WIT session, I have a man say, "It's not like that where I work." And I'm like, of course it's not. Everywhere else on the planet is like this. And research shows that it's like this, but your workplace is not like that. I would challenge that you're not paying attention. So instead of just saying you're wrong, I will ask you to go back to work. And in a couple of weeks, hit me up on Twitter, send me an email. These are the things that I want you to watch for. Let me know. Or sometimes I have a man who attended a session reach back out to me very, very soon and say, so I got home on Saturday or, whatever day. And they're like, And my wife is in IT, so I talked to her, and she said I'm an idiot and that I apparently haven't been listening to her when she complains. And she says you're right about all of it. I'm like, oh, okay. So I do. I have that. They follow up with me very, very frequently and say, it turns out I hadn't been paying attention. So
Yeah.
so I'm glad they came and listened and they learned, and especially if they applied what they learned. So
are any of those recorded? So because
several.
Okay.
I don't know if I have the link. So I do. I know there's a talk recorded on. It's called "Let Her Finish," which is a double entendre. I had a man once ask me, "Are you aware of what that sounds like?" And I went, "Yeah."
Aware.
Got it. Thanks. So I named it that. But yeah, it's all about supporting women's voices and not interrupting them. And when they're in meetings or the boardroom or wherever else. I did one for the Women in Tech group on mentoring. I've done sort of women in tech talks on how our biases that we have get projected into the applications that we build and things like that. So yeah, I do. It's actually been a really long time since I submitted my unconscious bias and gender inequality session. I should probably blow the dust off that one and submit it a few times, update it a bit. Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Do you think people have almost gone, well, we fixed that. Now we've got other things to sort out now. We've got racial problems, we've got all sorts of other stuff, equality, we've got all sorts of other, we've got disability equality, and we've sorted women now, they've got equal pay or whatever, they've done that bit, and we now to move on. Or
do I think some people think that?
Yeah.
Yes. But there are some people who think it's not a problem at all, or who literally refuse to understand that pay equality is actually an issue. That if you Google, does the wage gap exist? I promise you the first set of results are going to contain some videos on YouTube of men explaining why the wage gap's not real. When it's literally just a mathematical equation. What do women get paid? What do men get paid? It's not a fancy shell game. But yeah, I promise you on the first page of results, there'll be YouTube videos of men explaining that the wage gap's not real.
Just on that one thing, do you think that because Microsoft and Google and other big companies, I don't know if it's the same in America, but certainly in Europe, you have to publish the wage gap?
So you do not have to publish it here in the States. There are a lot of states who make it completely legal for your employer to prevent you from telling your coworker your salary. So, and I that's actually bringing up when I talk about the wage gap is I encourage men to tell their women coworkers what they make. How else do I know if I'm undervalued and underpaid? But no, here, some companies, especially if they're publicly traded, the top salaries you have to share. Some nonprofits have to share salary information, but just regular companies, you don't have to publish salaries at all. Now, bigger companies like Microsoft, Google, and even some professions like nurses have pay bands, right? And it's if you have this many years experience at your job, this much education, if you check these boxes, then you fall into this band. And the industries that have pay bands have the greatest pay equity. So when you essentially legislate it or codify it, whether it's because this hospital system doesn't want to get sued, so they've created these pay bands. Microsoft has pay bands, as you know, but even with Microsoft, it's the region that you live in, and then this particular job is coded as this. So you get you make in this range. So a lot of companies have codified to make it fair. I read a fantastic story a year or so ago of a company in Massachusetts that periodically reviews. They have they review their salaries, and they do it very analytically. So they remove the emotion from it and to check to see if they're underpaying women, and if they are, they fix it. So I wish that were required, but it will never be here for sure.
You don't think one day it will come?
Never.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry.
The fact that I can name the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act and tell you when it was signed in her particular case and that she was from Gadsden, Alabama, the fact that that's recent. And even then, it doesn't guarantee all women fair pay. The fact that I can name recently that there's legislation for it means we're not close, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, on a slightly happier note, I saw a tweet from you, and someone else did ask. You've got to tell me about Moose. Now, what is Moose? Who is Moose? And why is Moose?
So right now, where is Moose? Is right over there. She's in the floor. So Moose is my puppy, and she's 20 weeks old. She is a lab piranha mix. She bites. She's not really a fish.
Okay, all right.
Puppies have incredibly sharp teeth, and they explore just like babies. They explore the world through their mouth. So she's adorable. She has these big green eyes, and she looks so sweet, and then she'll eat your face. So, but she is hilarious. She's so goofy and so funny, and but I'm so tired. I'm too old for a puppy. Like I should have adopted a year-old dog instead of a 9-week-old dog. So, because Chris and I, we had our wedding ceremony end of April. Took a short honeymoon for like 5 days, came home, and we're home a day, and then met the woman from the rescue organization to get this puppy. So I haven't slept since about April 20th.
What is Moose doing to keep you up? Just nibbling your toes?
Well, so she gets up really early in the morning. Like, oh no, we're crate training her, so she's downstairs in her crate, but I wait till like 10 o'clock at night to take her out for the final time, and she's really lazy at 10 o'clock. So I no joke, carry her outside. I think she totally has me trained, right? So I carry this dog outside and put her down, and she runs around for a few minutes, and she does her business. And then we come in, and I put her in her kennel and go to bed. But then, so for the first 2 months we had her, she was getting us up at like 2 or 3 in the morning to go out in the middle of the night. And then it was getting closer to 4 a.m. And then once she gets me up at 4 a.m., I don't get back to sleep. I don't, right? So, but finally I took her to the vet, and the vet's like, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm tired." She goes, "Why are you tired?" So I told her, and she goes, "That dog can make it past 4 a.m. Stop getting up." I was like, "I feel like I've trained her to wake up at 4 a.m. And the vet said, "No, she's trained you to wake up at 4 a.m. She's fine." So now she'll make it till 5:30 in the morning, but then 6 o'clock she wants breakfast, and if you don't give her breakfast, she's going to eat your face. So,
well, that's what I mean. We've got a dog.
If she wakes up and like is running around before this is over, I'll introduce you. But she's asleep. Puppies sleep so many hours a day. It's bizarre. I didn't know. I thought they're like cats. Oh. They're either asleep or they're crazy. There's no, yeah. So that's what a Moose is. The kids named the dog. I wanted to name her Brisket. It's a fantastic name for a dog. I wanted to name her Brisket, and both of the kids were like, "Oh." So we ended up with Moose.
Moose is a good name. I mean,
it makes everybody think she's a boy.
it's the name. I think would you be embarrassed going outside the front door or going into a park and go, "Here, Moose," or "Here, Brisket"?
No.
No. Then it's a good name. If you're not embarrassed
Yes.
by shouting it out,
Right.
top of your
So
lungs.
she is Chocolate Mousse. Like her full name is Chocolate Mousse, but it's spelled Moose, like the Canadian. What is? I'm trying to think of like what genus or species a moose is, and I don't know the answer to that. So I'll have to Google that. But
I don't know.
it's just a mammal, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of relate. I wouldn't say not. Maybe sort of relate to a reindeer type thing.
Right.
Big. Yeah, it's a big thing with horns and the sort of the horns that spray out.
Yes. Yeah. And so she's just this little tiny brown thing named Moose. Well, when we got her, she was 12 pounds or something. We got her weighed yesterday. She's 29 pounds. So.
Sorry, I just saw a little message pop up. So I'm not watching the chat messages. So someone just put up that Moose is adorable. So someone.
Moose is, yes. She makes the best faces. And there's a red couch right behind me, and she'll like come thundering into the room and go across the coffee table up onto the back of the couch and just stare at me. So I just turn and there she is right there. So
she keeps you company. Yeah. So she's a lab. So is she the same breed of lab that've got the eating disorder? So I thought labs have got some sort of, it's a gene or some sort of thing wrong with them that they don't know if they're full. They would just eat and eat and eat and eat.
I don't think I ever thought that was genetic. So she's my third Labrador that I've had as an adult. And they've all eaten until they were full and they stopped. I don't know.
Oh.
Now some eat, especially when they're younger, they just like gorge themselves. They eat so fast that they created these bowls that have they look like puzzles inside. Like if you're trying to move a ball through something.
Yeah.
It's to slow them down eating. But she doesn't seem to. We do measure out her food for her, and she eats in the morning, she eats in the afternoon, but it's not like, I wonder if I tried to overfeed her, what would happen?
I wouldn't even think about it. It's just I'll have a look. I'll see if it's actually. I thought it was a problem with some labs or golden retrievers. I thought it was labs though, and some of them will just eat and eat and eat until they just like fall on their side with legs in the air, just like because they can't physically move anymore.
Yeah, no, my last lab that we lost her in January, and we free fed her. Like we just kept food in her bowl, and when she was hungry, she ate. So I didn't have to measure it at all.
Yeah, so, we do the same for our dog. There's dry food there all the time.
Yes,
but she'd much rather have human food. She loves pizza.
Oh, so our old lab was a scrap hound. Like she ate an entire pack of uncooked bacon. she ate a whole pecan pie. She ate a whole loaf of bread. Like if she could get to it,
a whole loaf of bread.
Food, a whole loaf of bread. Like in the time that I left the room and came back, she even once we had have you seen the clear clamshell boxes that like bread and rolls and stuff come in sometimes?
Yeah.
She ate a whole box of croissants once and got the package open there were no teeth marks in it. So I have no idea how she got this container open, but highly motivated. So we haven't, Moose can't reach the countertop yet, but the day is coming. So, but we don't give her any human food because I don't want to encourage her. She'll figure it out on her.
Yeah, ours is an ex street dog, and so she knew she liked pizza. Goes mental for pizza. Don't know why pizza. And she's from Greece, so there's just she's just she'll eat. She'll leave her food alone, and she'll go for our food. She much rather has a little bit of toast in the morning.
So right now we put her in her crate when we eat.
Oh, okay, right.
Just to avoid. But my old dog Summer, she would beg everybody else in the house for food. Like she would sit there and just stare at them, and she never bothered me ever, because never once did I give her my food. So she just knew she wasn't going to get it from me. This is a waste of my time. This woman is heartless. I'm going to go stare soulfully at her daughter. So and Eve, her daughter would feed that dog French fries until she threw up. And I know this because then is when she would yell for me. Yeah.
Yes. My daughters do the same thing. They think that the dog will go away if they give the dog a little bit of food, but no, that's just it. No, just think now.
Yes.
Kind of, she'll just sit there and she and my daughter will leave her food, so she'll eat half her dinner, and she has it next to her. The dog will know she's not eating anymore, and the dog will start going.
That's exactly the sound that Summer would make. This high pitch, we could hear it through the whole house. Like yell upstairs to my daughter, "Can you just finish your dinner, please?" Yeah. Got really old.
They are fun.
Yes, they are.
Right. I have a random question, slightly changing tack, slightly. I heard this earlier today, so I hadn't thought. It's not like one I planned and asked everybody, but if you could retake one exam you've taken previously, what would it be?
That's a tough one. I'm a really good test taker. Like I have great retention for information and can give it back onto a test. I don't know. I mean, so like maybe we have here in the States, we have an exam called the GRE. It's the graduate record exam, and you have to take it to get into grad school. And so I actually took that one twice. The first time I totally bombed it, or at least I didn't do as well. I didn't live up to my potential. So I went back and took it a second time, and my score went up by a few hundred points the second time. But part of it is knowing the format of the test and how it works and all that kind of stuff. But if I had scored even higher another time, it would have changed like the level of money that I would have gotten as part of a graduate assistant program at a university. So, I mean, I did okay, I did fine. I did well enough that I don't have a ton of debt from grad school, but you don't recognize how important some exams are, right? Until through the lens of a 22-year-old, you're just like, screw this. I'm just going to take it. I'm hungover. I don't know. So, yeah. So maybe that one.
Do you mind if you can say no and we'll go on to something else, but drill into that, just that bit where you said, I didn't live up to my potential. Was that coming from you? Or was that coming from your parents or some other outside influence?
Yeah. So certainly not my parents. Certainly not my parents. They, but it may be like how I have found myself parenting. So when Eve was younger, I never cared what she got on tests. Like I didn't care if she came home with a C or whatever, except if I knew she got the C because she put no effort in. So I didn't care about the final grade. I cared about her level of effort. right? So before her exams, when I would help her study for things at school, we would have a conversation about what she had learned. Pretty in depth, whether it was science or something she was reading, whatever. And so I always thought to myself, if she can carry on a conversation with an adult about whatever topic we're talking about, if she could exhibit to me that she understands it, then I don't care if she can take a test, right? I didn't care. Eve has a learning disability. And so it was always more important to me that like grades weren't going to be what made her successful or not in life. So I didn't care. So, but at one point, her grades were fairly average, but at the end of the year, when it came time to take standardized tests, she's like scoring off the charts. And her teachers were like, well, are you sure she still needs support? These test grades. And I said, that test only measures how well you've taught her to take a test. And they would have classes and study sessions on it's a multiple choice test. So the first thing you do is exclude two, right? There's two, they're going to be ridiculous. So now you have to choose between. They teach you skills to take a test. I'm like, at what point in her working career, in her real life, is she going to have a multiple choice test? Where is this going to come in handy? It's not. So teach my girl to read, teach my girl to problem solve, teach her to think for herself, and then we'll be good. But so she can really take a test too. So I think that's probably, where the expression came from. But my grades were excellent in school. They were always excellent in school. But to be honest, it's not because I tried hard. I didn't. School was easy. And unfortunately, like in high school, I didn't learn good study skills. So that when I got to college and got into some of the harder classes, I didn't know how to study for information that I didn't just take in. So maybe it comes from that if I'd put in a little more effort anywhere else along the way, my GPA in college would have probably been a little bit better. But for all the regular classes, they were just a breeze. If I attended classes and listened to the professor, I could give it back to them on the test. But I didn't try very hard. Not at all. So
do you think that's affected? You seem pretty driven and focused, and anyone who's a program manager or a senior program manager at Microsoft is pretty driven and focused. So do you think that's affected that? Or
I think I was born bossy. I don't know. I think I've just always.
I wouldn't use bossy because people don't like. I would say focused.
I'm bossy.
Oh yeah,
I don't care. I'm bossy.
All right. Yeah.
No, but I am. Yes, I am focused. Yes, I am driven. But I'm also bossy. I mean, I ran Eve's. Do you guys have PTA?
Yeah.
What the PTA is, the Parent Teacher Association.
Yeah.
When she was in elementary school, I was the president of her PTA, and I was even bossy about that, right? So I have always found that there are a few different kinds of people. And there's always a group of people who really, really want to help and they really, really want to do something. They just want somebody to tell them what it is, right? And so I have always been, I need you to go do this, and I need you to go do that. And then of course I'm doing something else, and they were always like, on it, got it, yes. And they would go and they would just kill it. They would just be great. But they could never figure out where to start, or they could never figure out what needed to be done or whatever. And I've always been that general on the battlefield who sees the whole project, or who sees, it's probably what made me a good DBA was somebody coming to me saying, hey, we want to get this data out of the system, right? And knowing to say, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that data? And then they would tell me, and I would say, okay, well, we can do that too. I can hand it to you that way already. So life is all one big project, right? To me, and it's all being able to see the whole battlefield at one time. And if we solve these problems over here first, these are going to be easier to solve. And I can keep all those things, in focus and going and all that stuff. And, not everybody can, but at the same time, there are skill sets that I lack. And that is empathy. To a certain extent, I'm not necessarily the huggy, worry about your feelings. Like, it's not my job to make you feel warm and fuzzy. It's my job to get the project done. So I don't have that skill. I'm really bad at it.
But because you are effectively the general on the battlefield doesn't need that skill, because you have people that have that skill who you can then move to the right place. So,
I have always been able to find the people who have that skill for me. Because I know sometimes people need that emotional connection, and so I find somebody who can do that.
Yeah, but
I'm just not good at it.
No, but understanding what you're good and what you're not good at is a certain level of maturity, rather than you're good at everything. Right, I can do these bits. Someone else can go and do. They're much better at that than I am. They can go and they can do that and they can excel at that. And I might be good at that, but they excel at it. So they're better at doing that than I am. And having that understanding is pretty, I guess. Did you have that before Microsoft, or do you think your background in sort of sociology and criminology helped with that, or do you think that came before?
So I think I've always been. I'm very reasonable and very rational and very measured and I think I always have been. And I think that's actually probably what drove me into sociology and criminology. But my dad, he used to ask me all the time, he would say, you're in social work, right? And I would say, no, Daddy, social workers want to help people. I just want to observe. He would go, okay, got it. And then like 3 months later, he'd be like, you're in social work, right? No, Daddy, social workers want to help people. I don't care. I just want to observe them. He would be like, okay. So I don't think he ever got the difference in social work and sociology ever. So I should have just went, yes, Dad, I'm a social worker.
It's sometimes easier. I work in computers and I shrink myself down every day. I get inside a computer, I fix them, I do whatever needs to be done. And at the end of the day, I grow back up and I expand out, and that's easy enough for my parents to get.
Yeah, no, when people they're like, oh, you're in IT, can you? No. That's hardware, I'm software. Hardware, software.
Yeah.
I can't fix your computer. So
I think I'd only been at Microsoft like a few months, and I was at a friend's bonfire fireworks night, sort of Halloween fireworks night party, and this guy came up to me and went, I really love Word. Kind of all drunk and said, yeah, I'll let the team know. What am I going to do with that information? Yeah, well done.
I had a friend of mine struggling. She just graduated, went back to school after her kid, was in high school. She just graduated to be an elementary school teacher. and she was struggling to get the last of her assignment in. Something was wrong. And she posts, we have this private group on Facebook, and she posts this explosive rant, how frustrated she is. And I was like, I didn't even bother to try to walk her through anything. I went, you just need to call me. So she picks up the phone, she calls me, and I was like, okay, have you tried any of this? And because she couldn't get some program to work, no lie, we ended up copying and pasting it into something else so she could turn it in Word. And she was like, how did it take you to think of that? And me not thinking about it. And I went, who do I work for? It worked for Microsoft. Of course, that's what I thought of. I said, you're going to be an elementary school teacher. You approach problems differently. It's fine. Don't worry. There'll be a day where I'll need her to solve a problem for me, and she will. So, but she was clearly emotional panicking, like she was knocking on the deadline. She had a couple of hours, senior project, but it just, how it didn't occur to her to copy it and paste it into something else.
The panic and the fear takes over.
Probably, but who do I work for? Microsoft. Yes.
And if you need to herd 17 5-year-olds, you'll call her.
I would just let them go. I wouldn't even try. Even my kid, when she was younger, she was like having 5 kids. I just have the one. And then when Chris and I got married, I have a bonus son now. But she's a handful. And I used to, take her to her teachers, and I'd be like, here you go. Better you than me. I just didn't. Wow, the people who can do that are amazing. I do not have that gene, and I won't even pretend to.
No, it's each person is good at their own thing. They're great at that. They love that. Mm-hmm. Let them do that.
Yes.
I can't work in an old people's home. I've seen, been into a few. It's just not my thing.
Yeah. That's actually what my friend Beth used to do. She was an activities director at a retirement home, and then went to work in a preschool, and now she's about to start elementary school teaching. So
cool.
She's going to kill it. She's going to be great.
Yeah. Well, we are literally up on time.
Nice.
Thank you, Rie, for your time. I didn't even ask you about your Twitter handle.
Oh, why is it what it is, or what is it?
I had, why it is what it is. I didn't know, because I've not spoken to you. I didn't know whether you were Irish, had an Irish accent. I didn't know
Nothing remotely that interesting. Irish is my ex-husband's last name. So until I married Chris, I was Rie-Irish.
Oh, okay.
And had been Rie-Irish for 20 years. How old am I? More than 20 years. So I just haven't changed it yet. We haven't figured out what it's supposed to be, but I have kind of red hair, so people just assume that that's what it is, and I just don't correct them. Just yes. But I'm Polish German by descent, like my parents.
Yeah.
So and oddly enough, Irish is an English surname.
Yeah, yeah. I guess. You wouldn't be in Ireland if you had the surname Irish, would you?
Well, and people would say, "What's your last name?" And I would say, "It's Irish." And they would say, "Okay, but what's your last name?" Irish. And they would go, "Oh, what's your last name?" "It's Irish." I understand.
Oh,
tell me what your name is. Yeah. 20-something years of that.
That must have driven you absolutely mental.
So I actually get asked more where the Rie comes from. And it's always the exact same syntax, the conversation goes the same way every single time. So every single time about
Okay.
where Rie came from.
Uh,
Do you
uh,
need to know? Is that
I mean, no, I don't.
okay?
I'm teetering 50-50 on the. Well, I mean, I don't need to know. But I mean, should I ask and push you over the edge?
So no, it's not bad. So my name is Catherine Marie. Nice, good Polish Catholic name, right? And growing up, my older sister called me Cat Rie. She took the first 3 letters of my first name and the last 3 of my middle name, and she called me Cat Rie, mostly to annoy me. And then by the time I got out of high school, she had shortened it to just Rie, and she and I actually went to the same college. So she went 2 years ahead of me, and then I followed to college. So by the time I got there, I had already met people or they'd heard me referred to as Rie, and then it just became Rie. So I have to, that's the explanation. So I introduce myself as Rie, and they go, Rie, how do you spell that? So I spell it R-I-E. And they do this. They go, is that short for something? Yes, actually, it's short for Marie. And I'm like, well, how'd you end up on that? Every single time. And I had told friends of mine that this was how it went. And they were like, it can't go like that every time. Like, you watch. And then they saw it happen a few times, that same facial expression. How do you spell that? Every single time. The same thing. Because it's not even a real name. It's like a prefix. No, it's Rie. Rie Irish. It's when you don't Irish something right the first time. It's not even a real name. So, but now it's Rie Merritt. And so I don't know. Nobody's made fun of that name yet, but it's early. I've only had it a few months.
I mean, I can take a stab. No, that would be completely inappropriate.
It's fine. It's fine.
Thank you, Rie. Thank you for your time. And thank you for those who've been watching. And you've been wonderful. Thank you. And let's do the showbiz goodbye.
It was a pleasure to be here.